ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕਾ ਖਾਲਸਾ ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕੀ ਫਤਿਹ
ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕਾ ਖਾਲਸਾ ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕੀ ਫਤਿਹ
Waiguru ji. So I'm Devindra Singh from the Sikh Press Association, and Sikh Press Association is an organisation that engages with the media on affairs that affect Sikhs. And today I'm very fortunate to be joined by some young Sangat who have taken some really meaningful steps on their journey into Sikhi today, over the last year and during this pandemic especially. And they're here today to share their stories and explain what their challenges have been as well. Feel free to ask questions via the YouTube page, and I will now hand over to each of them individually to just give an introduction of themselves, what they do, and what their age is as well. So, firstly, if we start with Avleen Kaur.
I'm Avleen Kaur. I'm 21 years old. I'm a university student at Aston University, but originally from West London, and I'm on a placement year at the moment, so I'm not actually at university, I'm working, so working till summer, then I'll be back in September.
Brilliant. Amrit Kaur, if you could give the same introduction as well.
Waiguru ji ka khalsa, waiguru ji ki fateh. My name is Amrit Kaur. I'm 16. I'm currently in sixth form, studying sociology, English literature, and philosophy and ethics.
Brilliant. Devjot Singh, if I could ask you to give an introduction for yourself.
ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕਾ ਖਾਲਸਾ ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕੀ ਫਤਿਹ My name is Devjot Singh. I'm currently in year 11 and got my GCSEs cancelled, so I'm happy.
And Janveer Singh, could you introduce yourself, please?
Vaiguru ji ka khalsa, Vaiguru ji ki fateh. So my name is Janveer Singh. I'm 21 years old, and I am currently studying at the University of Bristol, but I live in West London.
Brilliant, great. Well, we're really glad to have you all here today with us to talk about your journeys into Sikhi. So I really want to start with how your journeys began. If Avleen Kaur, again, if I could start with you on this, where did your journey into Sikhi really begin?
So obviously I was born into a Sikh family, but I wouldn't say my immediate family is practicing Sikhs. There are Gursikhs in my wider family, but not immediately in terms of mum, dad, sibling. So it began when I was in year 12 in school. I had like a phase where I had quite bad anxiety. It wasn't actually really that bad, but at the time it felt quite distressing to me. And there was nothing wrong going on in my life or anything to be causing any sort of sadness or something like that. So it was difficult for me to get out of it because I didn't know what was causing it. And then that's when I kind of just resorted to Sikhi because nothing else was working for me. So I had previously, like years before this, had been doing Rehra Sahib in the evenings when I was in like year 8. And I'd managed to memorize it. So that was kind of my go-to thing whenever I was, that typical student life when you have exams, you just start doing a part again. Like that's the type of person I was. And then at this point, because I needed something in my Sikhi to help me, I'd started to do Rehra Sahib again. And then I noticed that the nights that I would do Rehra Sahib, the next morning that I'd wake up, I'd feel completely fine. But the nights that I'd forget to do it or I didn't do it, I'd wake up the next day and I'd have that anxious feeling in my stomach. So I knew that it was working for me, so I kind of just continued following that. And then it kind of grew from there because there were a few other Gursikhs in my Sangha at that school who were also getting into Sikhi at the same time. So we started going to basics of Sikhi Katha at Park Avenue on Sundays. I started to watch a lot more basics videos. And then from there, that's kind of where it grew, and like the feelings of like peace and contentment just grew and my anxiety completely went. So that was kind of where it started, and that was also the main turning point, I'd say, in my Sikhi.
Brilliant. That's amazing. So you mentioned that you've got some Sikhs in your family, but not in your immediate family. Were your parents supportive on your journey?
I would say at the start they were definitely quite scared that this was going on, because from very early on in my journey into Sikhi, I knew that I was eventually going to get blessed with Amrit, or I wanted to get blessed with Amrit, and I knew I wanted it to be like a permanent life change, which kind of scared my parents a bit, because they felt I was too young to be jumping into something like a big life commitment. So I had to take gradual steps in order to keep them kind of happy, and also because it would have just been better for me to do things naturally and slowly. So I was doing my part, and then slowly eventually I kept my gears, and then I only got blessed with Amrit this year. So this year I'd probably have been in Sikhi for I want to say 4 years, 3 or 4 years, 3 years, I'm not sure. So it was very slow. I had to take things slowly because at that point, my parents were not into Sikhi really. Like what I mean is they weren't practicing Sikh. So we'd go to the Gurdwara here and there, but none of my parents were doing part or anything. But recently, like my parents have been a bit more into their Sikhi, I guess, from just being exposed to it more through me doing things, and so it's been a bit easier these days to get on with my Sikhi. But at the start, it was definitely difficult, and I had to kind of do things at their pace.
So you actually influenced your parents into Sikhi rather than it being the other way around so much?
Yeah, I wouldn't say I did anything, because I never really spoke about or like engaged in conversations or did any vichar with my family that much, because I knew that they didn't always want to, or I didn't even know anything anyway. So it was kind of more that they saw probably how it changed my life and how much peace it brought me or happiness it brought me. And then I think that even I showed, maybe my journey has showed them that it's not that hard, or it's not this crazy big change that everybody thinks it is, or it's not this crazy lifestyle. So that kind of it was something that helped me in moments of sadness or weakness, and I think then naturally they also resorted to it in times like that as well, so it's kind of been the same for them as well in that sense.
That's brilliant. Divjot Singh, if I could come to you next, could you tell me about your journey into Sikhi? How did it begin?
Anji, so with my family, my nana ji, my nani, all of my mum's side, they're all Amritdhari, and then my dad's side, not as much. What it was that my whole family, we'd always been Sangat of Baba Jaswant Singh Ji, who had recently just left for Sachkhand, and we would always go into the Gurdwara on Wednesdays, Saturdays, doing some seva, doing some Simran. However, there was never really that pull to completely indulge into Sikhi and dive into like the depths of Sikhi and try learning about it, learning how to do Maharaji Seva, learning about Itihas and things like that. And it was only when, I'll say in around, 2 years ago now, my sister, she met, my soon-to-be Jijaji now, and he was a practicing Gursikh, and he started teaching me a lot about Sikhi. He was a part of a Galta High, which is a Gatka Khada Sandhya class, run Havlok Gurdwara Southall. So he started teaching me, and from there I started watching basic Sikhi videos and things like that. And Bhajagraj Singh was very, very influential in my journey to Sikhi, very much helped me he grew up in Southall as well, being very similar to the way we've grown up as well. I've grown up, and just to have that sort of person who's very similar to you in the sense that he grew up where you grew up, he did the things that you did, and to see that someone like that has gone he's well known worldwide for his seva, for his prachar, it just really inspired me to try and go into the path of Sikhi. And now Maharaji's Kripa, I'm trying to prepare to take Amrit, and hopefully Maharaji's Kripa, I'll be able to do it.
That's amazing. That's amazing. And I can completely relate to that as well. For me, Bhajagraj Singh Ji as well was a big, huge influence. And as you said as well, very, very relatable. In terms of your parents and the kind of support you got from your parents, did you get a lot of support from your parents taking these steps that you've taken so far?
At the beginning, they were slightly scared because, well, what I saw the pool was like Shastra Vidya, learning about 1984 and all the things, the Shaheed things, and they immediately thought I might be going off on a tangent. But slowly, when I started showing them that I was trying to learn about Gurbani, learning about Itihas, and trying to put that into my life with values that would help me not only grow in a spiritual sense, but in a worldly sense as well. They sort of realized that it was a good thing. And with the help of the rest of my family, who are Gursikhs and Amritdhari, it did really help. Well, now they're very much supportive of everything that I'm doing. And they're supporting me, telling me to carry on going. And even telling me when I'm not doing my bani or not waking up, Amrit Vela, reminding me to do it. So yeah, it's been really helpful.
That's great. That's great to hear. Amrit Kaur, if I could come to you next, could you tell us about your journey into Sikhi? How and where did it begin?
Right, so I was born in your typical Punjabi household where Sikhi wasn't really implemented in mine or my siblings' lives. We would go to the Gurdwara probably once a month on a Sunday, and that even if. So, yeah, your typical Punjabi household. And so when I was like 12, 13, my mom used to say to me, my sister, oh, there's Katha in English at Park Avenue Gurdwara, Basics of Sikhi. And we were like, yeah, we'll go, but we didn't go. So she kept saying to us for like 6 months. And then finally, I decided to go. And that was honestly the biggest turning point in my life, because even though I understood Punjabi, I feel like it was better to listen to Katha in English because of just a better understanding. And yeah, so I think that was the first sort of like break in my Sikhi path, which led on to everything else.
Yeah, absolutely. As Divjot Singh and I know Linkur as well, mentioned as well, and I'm sure it's true for Janveer Singh as well, the basics of Sikhi, Katha, and just the Sangat in general has been, I think instrumental in all of our journeys into Sikhi. And you mentioned your mum, was kind of pestering you to go to the Gurdwara. So your parents were quite supportive, and have they been supportive throughout?
Yeah, so they're very supportive, even with me and my two other siblings. And it sort of influenced them as well. So like my mum, she'd like listen to her Nitrim now whenever she can. And like because my dad and my brother still eat meat, like keeping all the utensils separate. So yeah.
Great. And Janveer Singh, if you could also tell us about your journey into Sikhi, how did your journey begin?
Yeah, so mine's been a very gradual journey over time. It's been a very slow journey, but it only really picked up during lockdown around August time. And like over the past years, like when I was young, before I went to uni, and even during uni, we used to go to the Gurdwara, we used to listen to Katha. We always had like Kirtan playing on around the house. But personally in my life, I found that it was very inconsistent, that discipline wasn't there to read daily Nitnem or to listen to Katha daily or to do Simran daily. And I really wanted something that was consistent in my life and a discipline, because I felt that when I had that discipline, it helped me in the worldly side of life. So like in my studies, I was more disciplined in doing work. I was more disciplined in the worldly side of life when my spiritual discipline was there. So during lockdown, I got multiple realizations during like July time and leading into August time, and we were very blessed to be part of Sangat in West London, and they've just been a huge inspiration for me. Seeing the Singhs there grow up and listening to their stories coming into Sangat, I think being involved constantly in that Sangat has just been a turning point for me personally. And yeah, so the thing with me was that, like I said, it was a very gradual journey. I used to listen to basics of Sikhi, and listening to the stories and the Sakhiyan has really grown my love for Sikhi over time. And yeah, like the others, it's only during lockdown where I was blessed to keep my case. I was blessed to become vegetarian. And that love of Sikhi has spread through my family. So only recently, my sisters have started to stop eating meat. My mom stopped eating meat. So that love for Sikhi has, through Maharaj Gurpa, spread. And a Singh once told me that if you take one step towards Maharaj, Maharaj will take thousands of steps, not only towards you, but towards the people around you as well. And you will see your life completely changed. And at that moment in time, I thought, you just think, only until you experience it, then you really appreciate what the Sangat around you say. And I think for me, the biggest thing was having Sangat around me, both at uni, but also when I'm back at home. But yeah, and also during lockdown, it's helped like keeping your mental health in check, all those kinds of things. I feel like having that spiritual discipline really, really does help with everything that has come during the times we find ourselves in.
That's great. And you saw some really tangible benefits. You were saying, like in terms of the discipline and these kind of like attributes. In terms of your parents as well, how supportive have your parents been during this?
So they've been really, really supportive. A funny story, actually, when I told my sister, my younger sister, that I was turning vegetarian, she started crying, and she was like, "Oh no, that we can't have what we used to have before." And I was like, "No, that this is a personal journey that I'm going on. Like when your time's right, obviously, then you can also follow the journey as well." And slowly over time, like she's slowly started to stop eating meat as well. But it's just that love for Sikhi spreads. Like it's like a ripple around you, a ripple effect, and I've really seen that during lockdown.
Brilliant. So the next question I wanted to ask all of you really was like your daily practice. How do you practice on a daily basis? What do you do that keeps you close to Maharaj? Where do you go for Simran, for Santhya, education, and Sangat? So if I could start off with Divjot Singh, please. You mentioned your Jijaji and the Akara as well. Is that kind of like a big part of your Sangat? Is that a big part of your kind of journey into Sikhi?
Anji, yeah. Originally, they've really, really helped. So there's about 20, 30 Singhs that all go there. They all tied the malle, they all look very much in the Sikhi Sarup, and just seeing them was very inspiring, and inspired me to try and start tying the star, start learning about Sikhi. I go to Guru Nanak Sikh Academy, so we've always had a Guru Maharaj's Prakash there, and so I started during lunchtimes. Amrit Kaur comes to school with me as well, so sometimes we'd both be there doing Simran, or we'd have Simran playing on the projector. And it was really nice because you'd see other kids start coming in there and watching the videos as well, and you think, wow, like just I was trying to come in here and just watch a video for myself, and now there's so many other people who are watching the same video at the same time, and hopefully they're taking something away with them as well, which was really inspiring. Also with Basic Sikhi, they do Thursday Simran every Thursday, and it used to be at Harjeet Singh's house, they run spot, whereas now it's happening at Garib Nawaz Gurdwara. It's slowly stopped now due to COVID, but that Sangat really helped as well, and yeah, really, I love Sangat and I love Kirtan. Kirtan is the one thing that really, really pulled me into Sikhi, and when I go to Thursday Simran, the Kirtanis there are amazing, and that really, really helped.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think all five of us here go to the Thursday Simran as regularly as we can, and it's a magical experience. I completely understand what you're saying, and that's for me as well. During this COVID pandemic, that has been something that's been a constant. Has that been kind of like during this pandemic, especially with getting Guruji's darshan has been very, very difficult. But that's one thing. How else what have you been doing to kind of continue getting darshan and staying in Sangat during this pandemic with obviously social distancing and lockdowns?
Anji, at Havlot Gurdwara, they continued seva. They were feeding people continuously throughout lockdown, going to people's house and delivering food. So when I was able to, I'm asthmatic, so it was kind of hard getting out of the house, especially with my family, trying to make sure I was being careful with where I was going. However, over time, like they realized that it was okay, and I started going back into Sangat. Throughout while I was stuck at home, I would just listen to as much Katha as I could, listen to as much Kirtan as I could, because those two things are what really, with anyone trying to get into Sikhi, they're the two things that are going to pull you in. And Manager's Kripa, yeah, it's really helped.
Brilliant. Janvi Singh, you mentioned that the same Sangat has been your kind of support throughout this time. What has it helped you to do? So firstly, what do you do on like a daily basis? Like how do you stay close to Maharaj? And how has that been affected by this pandemic?
Yeah, so like I said, that I was very inconsistent in listening to Katha, doing Nitnem before, but during lockdown, I feel like because you've got nothing else to be doing, it's allowed you spare time in the day. But now my day has worked around Sikhi. Before I used to have Sikhi work around my day, but now I've made my day work around Sikhi in a way. So building on Nitnem, and also trying to do Simran during the day as well, when I'm doing my work or listening to Katha or listening to Kirtan as well, and like Divjot Paji as well. The Sangat at Thursday Simran has just been truly inspiring, and seeing the sings there. I think that's been the biggest inspiration, and that really was the turning point for me personally.
And how has it affected you, like mentally, not being able to get darshan as much as you would like, and as much as you used to as well?
Yeah, so we're very blessed living in West London. Obviously, you've got Park Avenue Gurdwara, which is open during lockdown. So if you wanted to get darshan of Maharaj, you could go there to get darshan of Maharaj, but obviously Kirtan didn't used to be happening, or there never used to be the smargans that used to happen in West London, and it has been difficult. However, I feel like virtual Sangat, there's a lot of obviously online talks on Zoom, and even with uni friends as well. We have like talks, we literally speak every day, and that has really, really helped as well. Yes, we can't be in person, however, virtually, it's really, really helped.
Brilliant. Avleen Kaur, if I could come to you next. So firstly, the first kind of part of the question is, talk us through your kind of daily practice, not necessarily, what you do for your Nitnem, but in terms of how you gain education, how you learn Santhya, how do you take those steps on a daily basis closer to Maharaj?
Santhya I was doing over the phone with a Gursikh, but they're in a different time zone, so it got kind of difficult. So not currently doing that anymore. I got to a certain point, but I mean, I still have a long way to go. So that's kind of like not happening at the moment. In terms of like other daily stuff, I mean, I don't do much, if I'm honest, but I try, like obviously I do my Nitnem, but like I try and keep like core things daily, and then anything extra is just a bonus. So like, I mean, one massive thing for me is Ardas, making sure I do Ardas every single day. Obviously I know that we should be doing that anyway, but just making sure that I'm putting like my full energy into my Ardas every day, because I've noticed at times when I haven't, that's when my Sikhi has started to fall, or when I'm not kind of feeling the same as I would. So making sure that I'm always asking Guru Sahib Ji for Guru Sikhi Jivan every single day is really important to me. And then to educate myself or to kind of grow my Sikhi, virtual Sangat, like Janvi Singh was saying, has been really, really like key. There's a few of the Bibia from Thursday Simran Sangat have like a cause discussion Zoom thing every Tuesday or every few weeks. Sometimes it's not every week, but that has been so valuable as well. Just keeping motivation up and like learning more from the other Bibia has been amazing. So that has been great. And then other than that, just I listen to Kirtan as much as I can, pretty much all day, every day. And like lockdown has been really good way for me to increase increase my nickname or do extra jobs, and it just helped my routine a bit more, perhaps, like, which I couldn't have done before lockdown because I had other stuff going on. So although it will probably be hard once lockdown ends to keep these jobs going as they are now, it's still it's given me a routine which I think I can stick to much better once lockdown's over.
That's brilliant. And it's really interesting you say that, you take that moment to really connect through Ardas and kind of put your energy and your focus into it. Could you talk just a bit more about that in terms of like the power of Ardas and how, from the sounds of it, it sounds like you're really searching a place deep within yourself to actually get this connection when you do Ardas.
Yeah, when I do Ardas, I just basically do it as honestly as I can. I don't put any pressure on the way I'm speaking or necessarily anything. I just speak to Guru Sahib as I would speak to like my closest friend maybe, and I just let everything out. I'll apologize for everything bad that I've done. I'll ask for what I need, but like I'll most of all ask for Sikhi Jivan. Yeah, I just make sure that I'm never forgetting to ask for that, because like the way I think of it is, say if you have like a colleague at work who brings you a drink every morning, and you ask them to bring you a drink every morning, but then you stop asking for a few weeks, or you stop asking for a certain amount of time, and they still bring it, but then eventually they're not going to bring it because they're going to think, you're not even asking me for it anymore. Why am I going to give it to you? So I just make sure that I keep asking for it, because I feel like if you don't ask, you don't get, sort of thing. So, yeah.
That's amazing. That's great to hear. And Amrit Kaur, the same question to you as well. How do you practice your Sikhi on a daily basis? What steps do you take? What kind of education do you take to take those steps closer to Maharaj?
So me and Avleen Kaur were actually blessed with Amrit together. So obviously that daily death is there. But I started keeping my death when I was like 14, 15. So again, like Avleen Kaur said, just trying to keep up. There's as many jobs as you can with the amount of time you had. And especially during lockdown, like no events happening in person, but there's still many virtual events. Like Basics of Sikhi had the quiz nights. I took part in the Seek to Inspire Job Sahib job, which was really nice. And another thing is like being able to get darshan of Guru Sahib. I feel like that made me come to the realization of how key Guru Sahib is in my life, because it came to the point where no one could see Guru Sahib. Like, how crazy is that? So it just made me value going to the Gurdwara more, wanting to go to the Gurdwara more, and just valuing like the Sikhi Jivan in general.
Yeah, and I know you also you learned Kirtan as well. Could you talk to us a little bit about how that's been for you? What kind of journey that's been like for you?
So I first did Kirtan when I was actually still in Monni. So I got into Kirtan before I actually started keeping my case and was vegetarian. So Kirtan plays a really big part in my life, because when I feel like I can't concentrate and just sit down and do a job, I would like take out my vajra and just do Kirtan, even if it's by myself, because having that one-to-one sort of connection with Guru Sahib is really important to have.
Yeah, absolutely. And also with the pandemic as well, do you feel like you've had an opportunity to, like Avleen Kaur was saying as well, she's been focusing on doing jobs and things like that. Have you kind of used that in a positive way to further your Sikhi as well?
Yeah, so we actually have a WhatsApp group where we would say encourage others to do more jobs and keep count of how many jobs we're doing. Not that like you should keep count or whatever, but just to maintain you wanting to do it and just having the sort of determination to carry on.
Brilliant. Thank you. So we've spoken about this a little bit already, but I really want to know more about the challenging aspects of coming into Sikhi. I mean, for me personally, one of the big ones was waking up Amrit Vela. That's not an easy lifestyle change to make. Divjot Singh, if I could come to you first, what are the challenges that you've kind of experienced? What do you, and how have you overcome them?
Sometimes with me, it was being with my friends. So originally, when I started going to the Gurdwara at lunch times, because we have a Gurudwara at school, instead of going outside with my friends, they would be saying to me, "Oh, you've changed. You stopped chilling with us," and things like that. However, when I try relating back to Sikhi and watching videos by Bhaji Garaj Singh Ji, I remember watching a video where Bhaji Garaj Singh was talking about that exact scenario, and the example he gave was ask them to come to the Gurukar with you for one day. Just say to them, if you want me to come outside with you for one day, you come with me to the Gurukar for one day. And I tried that. And even though they still didn't want to come afterwards, it helped me because they realized how passionate about Sikhi I was. Other difficulties were like with my family, keeping breath, especially doing my nitnem was one big thing that I found difficult. I'm still trying to keep up with my nitnem now, but slowly it's been improving, and especially during lockdown, I was able to start doing more nitnem, doing more job as well, doing more jobs, and yeah, Madhukar slowly is getting better.
Mm. How are things with your friends now? Like in general, it's I've heard a lot of people say that you come into different sangat, but at the same time, you don't you don't want to be disloyal to your friends. That kind of peer pressure sometimes can be quite challenging. So how are things going with them now? Do you have a good kind of friendship group, and or has your friendship group even widened now because of Sikhi?
Hanji, I've made friends that I never knew I'd even speak to. Since I come into Sikhi, before it was a thing where I thought I was a bit of a gangster, and I was chilling with the cool guys at school to say. But afterwards, I just like broadened my horizons, and I started speaking to more people that I didn't think I would speak to, and some of them are now some of my best friends. Sometimes it feels as if you got like an overload of people. You're trying to balance them out and speak to some people and not speak to the others. But then afterwards, you just realize that the people that are actually trying to help you within life will always try to help you. They won't just see you're doing something different and be like, oh, we're not going to speak to him anymore. They will see that you're actually trying to do something good with your life, or as in trying to improve what you are already doing. And I've seen that with a lot of my friends as well. And yeah, some of them even started coming to Sangat as well, which is much good.
Yeah, that's brilliant to hear. Thank you for sharing. Avlinko, can I come to you next? I mean, does that resonate with you? What are the challenges that you've had from your own kind of social group? And also, what are the challenges just on this journey in general, and how have you overcome them?
In terms of my friend group from school, I only really have two like best friends from school, or the other friends I have from school, they're in Sikhi now anyway, a few of the Singhs, but like my two girl best friends from school, one of them is Muslim, the other one is a Sikh, but not practicing Sikh. But they've always understood that how important Sikhi is to me, and when I was in school, I was very different to them. Although I wasn't practicing Sikhi at the time, I didn't have the same preferences in lifestyle as they did. So everybody kind of knew I was a bit different anyway. And then, so I think when I came into Sikhi, I felt so much more like my life made a bit more sense, and they could see that was really positive for me. So they've always been really supportive. So it hasn't been that hard, like balancing my lifestyle in terms of with them. It's more for my family for me, because on my dad's side of the family, like I said, there are some like the star wearing individuals or individuals who keep their cares, but on my mum's side, like my mum's siblings and all of my cousins on my mum's side, none of them are insecure, keep their cares, wear the star or anything. So that was a big scary factor for me, like being the only person the only girl who's keeping their cares and wearing the star. And I'd say, yeah, so keeping cares has probably been the biggest challenge for me, in like family aspect, just keeping everybody happy, or wondering if what people are thinking about me, or dealing with what people are saying about me, that she's too young, or few people in my family doubted that I'd ever be able to get a job or things like that with kids or wearing the stars. So that was a big challenge. But But I think slowly, like this year I'm working and I've got a really good role in my job. So I think that's kind of proven to them that it's possible.
Yes. So you're the only Amritdhari in your family, and the only Gearstari female in your family as well. How has that kind of change in appearance? How has that affected you, and how has that affected the kind of family dynamic?
Yeah, it's definitely been tough. I think I've had to like gain a lot of strength, but we've all been talking about our Sangat and Thursday Simran Sangat and that. Sorry, 1 second. 4:36. Yeah. Sorry, my mum asked me the time.
No problem.
Let me just go back to my thought. Can you ask me the question again?
So we were talking about you being the only Gearstari female in your family. And am I right in saying that you're the only Amritdhari in your family as well? Amritdhari individual in your family as well. How has that kind of how has that been for you to kind of like deal with it? It kind of sounds like you've always had, you've always walked your own kind of separate path to the rest of your family. In that sense, on that Sikhi path, how has that kind of affected you though, kind of like going through these changes and dealing with your family at the same time who just are doing their own thing?
I think my confidence has definitely been very up and down, like throughout, feeling just really self-conscious in front of certain family members. On my dad's side, my chacha is Amritdhari, but nobody else is Amritdhari on my mom's side, or no other Bibi is Amritdhari in my whole family. So yeah, my confidence has been like a big thing I've had to work on. I think lockdown has actually made that worse as well, because you're constantly like wearing a mask, so you don't actually have to think about what anyone's thinking of you. So I really haven't been that self-conscious really in lockdown, because nobody's really seeing my face or any facial hair, which has been commented on a few times maybe in my family. So yeah, the dynamics have been a bit different. I think some people have thought I'm a bit crazy or that I maybe might struggle eventually. But the Sangha that we're in, I get a lot of strength from them. And if like there are other BBI in our Sangha who obviously keep their case, and they've had similar challenges as me, and I've kind of looked at them and thought they give me so much strength. And if I want people younger than me or future generations to have that same strength, then I have to kind of be like them. I have to be as confident as they are. Otherwise, I might stop other BBR from wanting to keep their case or feeling confident enough to keep their case. So, yeah.
That's brilliant. Thank you for sharing that. Janveer Singh, if I could come to you next, what have been the main kind of challenges on your journey? We've heard about the changes. Sorry, go for it.
No, you can carry on.
I was just going to say, we've heard about the changes in appearance, and we've heard about kind of friend circles and stuff like that. What has it been for you?
Yeah, so like I said before, I used to keep at the start, but I used to trim my beard before. And it was only, I used to go through phases where I used to grow it out, but then like personally, because the thing is like I had that urge inside, but that wasn't being met outside. So there was that disconnection from what I wanted inside. There was that disconnection between the heart and the mind. And I think that lockdown has really encouraged me, and Sangat has really played a massive part in actually taking that first step. And I think the hardest part was taking that first step. And a lot of Singhs did say to me that the hardest part is taking the first step. And after you take the first step, everything will just happen naturally. So things like I was listening to a talk by Amandeep Singh from East London, and he once said that if your actions and your thoughts don't match what your heart desires, then you really need to think about what you're doing on a day-to-day basis and how you can bring them in line. And that really encouraged me, because I thought that like my actions and the Sangat I'm hanging around with isn't bringing me closer to Maharaj. So a Singh said to me that if you do Ardas to Maharaj, that if you surround me with people that will bring me closer to you, and Maharaj will do the rest of the work. And I really saw that play out in the last 6 months. But practically, since I've started to keep my kiss and everything, practically, I think waking up for Amrit Vela, like Baji said, that I think it's been quite difficult. But I think the most important part, which Sangat have said to me, is that take small steps, don't jump straight into the deep end. take baby steps at a time and have a very strong foundation. So don't force it, but have small baby steps and then let everything happen naturally. And also, I think learning Gurbani as well. So I personally listen to my part instead of reading it, but slowly. With my Rajesh Gurba, I'm slowly starting to learn Gurbani as well. But overall, studying in Bristol as well. So Bristol's quite a Gora area. When I started, I was one of the only persons that used to wear the star on campus. And being from West London, where you've literally got to sing everywhere you look on the street. At first, I found myself to be quite isolated, but Jugraj Singh once said that it just takes one soul to move into an area for Sangat to come. And that was a real inspiration for me. And even like going back to university after, I've started growing my case, and after the new route has come out, I thought would be quite difficult, but if you do Ardas Maharaj will take care of all your worries. So, yeah.
Wow. Yeah, the power of Ardas. That's brilliant. Amrit Kaur as well, if I could ask you, what have been your major challenges on this journey?
So I feel like family and friends wasn't like a huge problem. They were all okay. The biggest challenge for me personally was gaze, because society now deems body hair on a female to be like disgusting and unhygienic. So stuff like that used to really get to me. And even I was the first person, male and female, from my family to keep my gaze, and I'm the only Amritadi in my wider family. Me and my sister, we're the only Amritadis in our family, and even our wider family, we don't have any other Singh or Kaur that keeps their gaze. But from me and my sister coming into Sikhi, keeping our gaze, it had a domino effect on my younger brother and my two younger cousins. So slowly, like it's growing on the wider family as well. Like my nanny, she would, while she's at work, she would listen to, say, me doing Kirtan, or say reading Bart or something, or listening to my sister read Bart. So I feel like I've overcome the challenge of keeping my gaze from my family, actually showing that support and showing how it's affected them as well in a positive way.
Brilliant. That's brilliant. In terms of, this is a question for everyone as well. You're quite at an age where, some people in your age group are maybe kind of doing things that aren't really in line with a Guru Sikhi lifestyle. I know when I was your ages, there was, people, including myself at your age actually, who were kind of going out to places where alcohol was being served, and these kind of things, it's quite difficult for people at your age. If I could start with Avleen Kaur, how has that affected you? People in your age group, have you felt any peer pressure? Have you felt the need to kind of, to push back against people trying to take you in a different direction?
Kind of. With my friends from school, like I was saying, we pretty much, when we see each other, we just sitting at home just playing games. So that's not too much of an issue. But in other aspects, like work aspects, like I used to work in a retail job, I think 2 summers ago, and I think there was only 2 of us Asian people there. The rest of the staff, like the summer staff who are our age, were not Asian. So they, like after work for social events, would often go to the pub or go to places where alcohol's predominantly served. And being somebody who wears the star and obviously has a responsibility for their actions based on what they look like, I obviously didn't want to go. So I never did go, but it was a bit hard to consistently miss out on those social events, and people ask why, you don't have to drink, you can just have juice or whatever, and you kind of have to just awkwardly put your foot down and say no, it's fine, I'm okay. And that's been something which has happened in quite a lot of jobs I've had and the current job I have now, a lot of the students, placement students, went to a bar to meet up for the first time in central London. Luckily, because it was in central London and because COVID was going on, I just used COVID as an excuse and just said, like, I don't want to come to London. But the main issue was that, yeah, I didn't want to go to a bar. So in that aspect, it's not difficult, but it's unfortunate that that people don't suggest other social things to do, like go to, I don't know, to a restaurant or do a games night or something, which are things that I like to do. So that is something which I think over time, there's a lot more discussions, I think, in the workplace about diversity and doing more diverse social events, which can accommodate for people with different faiths. So that's like an ongoing thing. But other than that, I'd say in my family, there's not been pressure, but it has been awkward at times. I feel like sometimes people our age think we're like, they feel bad for us or think we're missing out on stuff. Because before I go into Sikhi, like I used to like wear makeup, go to parties, listen to a lot of Bhangra. Like I listen to Bhangra literally every day. So that was something I completely have cut out now. And I think some people in my family have felt like I'm missing out, or that they're like, you've made this massive change, like it's kind of unfortunate or whatever. So that has been a bit difficult in that sense. But I think we often think a lot about what people are thinking about us, but in reality, I don't think anybody actually cares. So sometimes I just remind myself, like, they probably aren't giving as much thought to me as I'm giving to the whole situation. So then I just try and forget about everything and just get on with what I want to do.
Devjot Singh, could I ask you as well, what have been the main challenges that you've come across? How has this kind of your friend circle you've mentioned, but what about the culture, the difference between the Punjabi culture and the Sikh lifestyle as well? Has that been an issue for you?
Sometimes I do end up getting into slight little arguments with my family or with my mum over things like that. Some at the beginning, when I was first starting to come into Sikhi, it was questions like "Tu Siddhi Bhag kyun nahi banda?" Or why can't you listen to music? Or I just slowly started stopping those kind of things. Not that it's wrong or I don't like it, but it's with a Sikhi Jeevan, it's slightly hard to try and balance those things, especially with your family, with everyone else still doing those things. Like I've never once wanted anyone else to stop doing those things. However, now it's gone from a stage within my family where it used to be, it's like when everyone got together, there'll be music playing in the background. Whereas now I don't know what it was, but we just start talking about Sikhi or start talking about Gurbani, which I really, really like. And my parents do get annoyed sometimes, saying I'm going too far, I talk too much about it. That's all I ever talk about. But yeah, that was one thing. With culture, I see it more as in within school, people mix things up. They will see being a Jat as a Sikhi thing, or running around screaming Jat life at school, because a majority of the people at my school are Punjabi, and I find it so silly when not to look down at them, but in the school's name, Guru Nanak Sikh Academy. Guru Nanak Dev Ji's one of the first things that they did, they got rid of divisions like caste, like creed, like race. And for us as a community to be talking about to be relating to those kind of things, I won't tell everyone straight away to leave those things, leave them out, because not everyone can just drop things like that. But to try and realize that that's not actually our virsa, that's not actually our heritage. We shouldn't be relating to things like that. We should be uniting everyone instead of dividing people. That is one thing that I really, really struggle to understand within our community, as in why do we do things like that?
Yeah, no, that's really well said. I think, that resonates with me a lot as well. I think, it's one thing kind of knowing and acknowledging your history, your background, but, pride is something that's very dangerous. And no, thank you for sharing that with us. Janveer Singh, you're 21 years old, you're at university, you know, a lot of your friends are probably going to clubs and going to pubs and stuff like that. How have you felt, you know, that impact you and affect you? Has that been challenging for you?
Yeah, so I'm in my fourth year of studying now. So I'm not going to lie, in my second year, like I was going out. There used to be Sikhi there. I used to listen to Keaton and everything. I never used to drink, but I still used to go out. And I used to be part of like the Bhangra Society and everything. But I think slowly over time, without any effort of my own, through Maharaj's Kirpa, that's suddenly all just distanced. And I look back and reflect on the past 3-4 years of my time at uni, and I just think that I put no effort into this, that Maharaj has literally just placed everything on my plate and distanced Sangat that I was previously involved in, and then brought new Sangat closer to me, both in uni as well as back home in London. So I think now looking forward, in Bristol, like I said, it's quite Gora, but when I went back after lockdown, like the Gore are quite intrigued into why you grow your hair or why you carry a kirpan. And I was getting loads of questions like that, especially because I'm on clinic. So patients are quite curious about why you have a particular roop or why you have to wear special uniform when like you're carrying out certain stuff. But I think what has dragged me closer to Sikhi is number one, Sangat. And if it wasn't for Sangat, like God knows where I would be right now. Sangat has been the biggest thing. And for anyone that is got that conflict between their heart and their mind, I would say just get closer to Sangat. So like I can now pick up my phone to like some things and we can just have a conversation. A few years ago that wasn't possible because I didn't have that close Sangat around me. My close friends didn't want to speak about Sikhi or weren't very spiritual, whereas now I find like Mara just placed Sangat around me, and I feel very, very blessed with that. But yeah, that's the main stuff that I found.
Brilliant. And Amrit Kaur, if I could ask you the same question as well, what have been the challenges that you've faced on your spiritual journey, and has the Punjabi culture, has that played a role in your journey?
So with my family, the whole culture thing, like they're very understanding that I'm not going to tie a rakhi on my brother or my cousin brother. So in that sense, they're like, yeah, we understand that you don't want to do that. But it's different in school. So because I study philosophy and ethics, we study Sikhi as an undertopic, and things like rakhi and like Garba Chauth, like people get so misunderstood. And I'm there trying to explain to them, like, no, it's not a Sikhi thing. Like Garba Chauth isn't even a Punjabi cultural thing, and yet it's crazy how they mix, how they're mixing it into Sikhi, and even rakhi, how it's not a Sikhi thing. And there are some points where even the teacher is like to me, like, look, you're being too strict. Like you're not here to be biased in this subject, and I understand that. But the fact that what really like irritates me is that getting these sort of rituals mixed in with Sikhi, and then people get that sort of misunderstanding that, oh yeah, you Sikhs are too what's the word, strict, like you have too many rules, like you need to be a bit more laid back. And even with my friends, like I have a very mixed group of friends. So like despite being underage, I have friends that drink, and to me they don't really like, it doesn't really affect me, like that's on them. I don't really see it as, oh, like I'm the odd one out, I need to be joining in with them. And they understand that too. They fully understand that this is a path that Amrit's chosen. So they fully respect like what I need to do and what I have to follow, the certain rules I have to follow. So in that sense, it's okay. Yeah.
Brilliant. We're coming up to the end of the discussion. Just a couple of questions more though. So one thing I did kind of ask you all to think about beforehand as well was something that has influenced you, something that's inspired you whether it's a Sakhi or whether it's a Shabad or some moment maybe in your life. And I was wondering maybe if I could start with Janveer Singh, could you tell me about what inspires you in your Sikhi?
I think this would go for many Sikhs out there as well. But the story of the Char Sahibs out there, I think, really is close to my heart. And obviously during lockdown as well, listening to the Sakhiyan of the Char Sahibs out there, I think has really been a push for me personally. Like even when listening to them, like you just tear up, and that whole connection with Maharaj has been a real inspiration. How obviously so many sacrifices have been made, and you look at where we are now today in society and the sacrifices that were made back hundreds of years ago, that do they correlate? And the fact that obviously the actions which personally I find myself in don't correlate with the sacrifices which were made, I think is real encouragement that we need to make changes within our life.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, like you said, Char Sahibs are there, the Sakhi of the Char Sahibs are there, seeing that strength and knowing that this is this is what your dharma is based on. This is your lineage. This is your, these are your role models. It's very powerful. So how did you find out about this Sakhi? Did you hear that in Sangat? I know there's a film, the Char Sahibs did the film as well.
Yeah, so obviously the film which came out a few years ago, that was the first time that I personally heard about it, but also in Qatar. So, for example, Qatar, or like, for example, over this lockdown, there was a lot of virtual stuff that was going on. So I think mainly through English Qatar as well, and by Baljeet Singh's talk at camp, Basics of Sikhi camp as well. I think that was really touching.
Brilliant. Yeah, the camps are amazing. Amrit Kaur, if I could ask you that same question as well, what inspires in your Sikhi?
So obviously case being a really big obstacle in my journey, I think the Sakhi of Baitar who's saying really has an impact on my Sikhi Jeevan. So obviously they refused to have their case cut, and they had their scalp removed instead. So I feel like that's really empowering in my Sikhi journey. I even have a little saroop of them on my bedside table. So just seeing that before I go to sleep, and even seeing that when I wake up, it's just a really nice daily reminder about like how strong Guru Sikhs are in their faith, and even seeing other Guru Sikhs, speaking to Guru Sikhs on a daily basis, it really has an effect on me and my Sikhi.
Wow, that's amazing. That's amazing. Avleen Kaur, if I could ask you, is there a specific Pankti or a specific Sakhi that really inspires you in your Sikhi?
There's a few, but this one's not really inspiring, but it kind of just it keeps me like solid, or keeps me going in my Sikhi, or keeps me strong in my Sikhi, which is Jag Rachna Sab Jhoot Hai, just that this whole world is fake, essentially. It just helps me so much, because I feel like I can overthink loads or get really attached to the way I look, or to people, or to things. And just hearing that over and over again, Jag Rachna Sab Jhoot Hai, like this is all just fake, it just helps me so much to prioritize things in life and to prioritize my Sikhi, because as soon as I hear that, everything realigns within me, like what's important and what I need to focus on and what I don't need to focus on. That is a big inspiration. Other than that, just the Guru Sikhs in our Sangha are so inspiring, and they are like the biggest thing ever. I feel like when I'm not around them for a long period of time, such as lockdown, that's when things get really hard. But virtually, we've been able to get their darshan, which has been good.
Brilliant. Thank you for sharing. And Devjot Singh, is there a specific Sakhi or Pankti or a specific moment, maybe a specific Katha? What is it that inspires you in your Sikhi?
Anji, what I always like to turn back to is the story of Bhai Maha Singh Ji, Guru Gobind Singh Ji. When Bhai Maha Singh Ji is lying there in Guru Gobind Singh Ji's laps, just before they're about to take their last breath, and Maharaj is still holding on to that Vidava that they wrote, that they signed up to. And even after Bhai Maha Singh Ji had told Guru Sahib that I'm no longer your Sikh and you're no longer my Guru, Guru Sahib still forgave them for what they did. That just always reminds me that no matter where you go, no matter what you do in life, there will be no one more loving than Guru Sahib. There's no one that you can turn to more than Guru Sahib. And anything that you do need to do in life or do need, Guru Sahib is the one that's going to help you. And that's what keeps me motivated in my Sikhi. That if Maharaj is telling me this is what I need to do in life, then I have to take that wholeheartedly and understand that that is the pathway, and that is a path through life.
Well, you are all really inspiring me right now. I can tell you. And just to close off as well, because we are, running a little bit over time. What advice would you give to fellow young people, young Sikhs who during this COVID pandemic might be struggling with the Sikhi, would like to take steps closer in their Sikhi? What advice would you give, to kind of develop your Sikhi during this lockdown? Could I start firstly with Avleen Kaur?
I'd say don't get too disheartened about things, because I definitely got disheartened maybe at the start of lockdown about how little I was seeing Sangat, and still I've barely seen any of these guys much in the past 6 months. But at the same time, it's been such a valuable time for me to get my routine sorted and increase my jobs and just get my Sikhi at a level where I've always wanted it to be. It's still not there yet completely, but I'm like making more steps than I would have done if I didn't have this time. So I'd say see this time right now in lockdown as a really valuable time to make some serious steps in your Sikhi. And advice, reach out to Sangat, like don't be scared to reach out to people. Most Sikhs are really happy to help anybody who needs anything. So just reach out if you need anything and use this time, because once we get older, we're not going to have this time anymore.
No, thank you. Thank you very much for that, Avleen Kaur. Janveer Singh, if I could ask you as well for a closing statement. In closing, what would you say to the other young Sangat who might be watching, and even older Sangat as well, taking those steps towards Sikhi during this pandemic? What advice would you give?
Personally, I think that lockdown's been the biggest blessing we've had. So personally, studying in Bristol, it was very difficult for me to engage with Sangat in London. But being constantly in London now, it's just been a huge blessing. And having one or two people around you, that support network, a strong support network, is so important. The journey, like Maharaj says it, the journey is not an easy journey. It is going to be a hard journey. So having a strong support network around you is really important. And I think the one thing this pandemic has shown us is that you really don't know what's around the corner. If you want to take a step and your heart is telling you to do something, just do it. Like, what's the worst that can happen? You take one step and Maharaj will take so many steps towards you. And personally, with lockdown as well, having that routine in place has just allowed that discipline to come. And it protects your mental health. It protects everything that comes with it. And for young Singhs or Singhni that at university, I think obviously university is a very turbulent time. You've got Sangat from all across the world, all across the UK around you, from all walks of life. But every single moment of every single day, you just need to think that what is my journey and is what I'm doing gonna bring me closer to Maharaj? And you just need to constantly reflect on what you're doing and whether the steps you're taking is bringing you closer to Maharaj. But I think the lockdown's been a huge blessing.
Brilliant. Thank you very much for sharing all of that today. Divjot Singh, can I come to you for closing remarks? What advice do you have for other people taking these steps into Sikhi during this pandemic?
For me, the three things that I really tried to turn to myself were Seva, Simran, and Sangat. I made a little rhyme for it. This Seva, Simran, Sangat makes strong, steady Sikhi. Sounds a bit cringy, but that is what it is true. Those are the main three things that are going to help you go far in your Sikhi. And without those three, Sikhi is not really going to be there. So as daunting as it may seem, to try and indulge in those three things, even the tiniest little bit, will make such a big impact. And if everybody's trying to take that jump, Guru Sahib will catch you. That is the one thing that Guru Sahib will always catch you, no matter what you do, no matter how bad you think you are, they will never leave you out.
You out just as you're saying, quite powerful thing. Can you hear me now?
Anjia.
Well, I agree. I think we're having slight technical difficulties. Can you hear me, Divjot Singh?
Anjia.
Great. I think you're back now. I just wanted, I think, and I'm not sure, but from my side, you seem to cut out towards the end of your kind of answer there. So could I ask you just to kind of just go over that again, what you were saying about, this time to not feel that you can't be helped, that you're beyond redemption. There's always a path to Maharaj. You were just saying that.
Yeah, just like the story of Bhai Maha Singh Ji, no matter how bad you think you are, if you take that jump, Guru Sahib will catch you. There's no one that they haven't caught before that they try making the jump. Anyone that you look at within history, you look at Jinda Sukha, they were Monne at the time when they made the sacrifices that they made, but Guru Sahib still caught them. Guru Sahib made what they were trying to do. They made them victorious. You look at anyone in history, Udham Singh, who had to cut his gears to fulfill what he tried to do, and Guru Sahib still made him victorious. Although cutting gears isn't what we want to do, Guru Sahib still gave them victory because that was the right thing to do at the time. So if we try and make that jump, Guru Sahib will help you.
No, I agree. And Amrit Kaur, if I could ask you as well, in closing, what advice would you give to anybody watching today, who's being inspired by what you're saying, to take those steps, those tangible steps towards the Guru in their Sikhi journey?
I'm not the best at giving advice, but I would say just not to be pressured to to feel that you have to look a certain way, or you have to do certain things that other people are doing just to match where they are in their journey. Just remember that you came into this world by yourself and you're going to leave by yourself. It's a personal journey, and the only person that could really influence it is Guru Sahib. So never lose that faith in Guru Sahib, and just try to include just small things into your daily routine, even if it's doing Mool Mantir for 5 minutes, or even just saying Waheguru once in your day can have such a big impact. So yeah.
Brilliant. Thank you very much for sharing that. Thank you all four of you for sharing, some really inspiring and very powerful messages today. I've certainly taken a lot from it, and hopefully, our audience has as well. So thank you very much for your time, and thank you all at home for watching as well. Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh.
Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji